Hi, folks. Welcome back to Build at Home. I am once again your at-home host, Ricky Camilleri, recording from my apartment in Bushwick, Brooklyn, which I've yet to put anything on the walls of. But anyway, I'm joined right now by the incredibly talented singer-songwriter Lukas Graham, who's here to talk to us about his music, how he's living during our quarantine times, and especially talk about his new song, Scars. Lukas, good to see you. Thanks so much for joining me.
Thank you for taking the time, Ricky. It's nice to be able to still do interviews and work while being forced to stay more or less at home.
Yeah. Before we get started, I just want to say we've been saying this at the top of every interview. It's incredibly important, but upwards of 404 school lunches have been missed by children across the country due to school closures from the coronavirus. If you are interested in helping, finding out how you can help children get those meals that they need, please go to nokidhungry.org, where there is a lot of information for how you can chip in and help kids get fed. Lukas, how are you holding up during your quarantine? What are you doing to stay busy, stay focused? Is that even a priority for you? How are you feeling?
I would say that me and my family were feeling fairly good during this quarantine. It's day 22, if I'm not mistaken. We're a little under pressure in the sense that like our due date for the second kid is like on the 20th of April, where they're estimating the coronavirus to peak in Denmark. So that's interesting to not put a negative label on it. It's an intense feeling. Let's put it there. But we've been trying to keep busy. We have a little yard, like a 900 square foot cobblestone yard in between the apartments that we live in. And there was like a little corner with no stones. So I've been like amateur cobbling, like probably like 2.6 tons of granite that I've moved, 400 cobblestones. It's been a fun job. But now it's done, so I'm looking to do more things because not that it's important to stay busy, but it's important for me to burn some energy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've noticed from my balcony lots of neighbors amateur cobbling or amateur gardening, and you can tell it's amateur, which is wonderful because there's like every 15 minutes or so, there's like a moment where they pause and sort of look around and like take in what exactly it is they're doing and why they're doing it, and then go back to work.
Basically, I've been doing it with my father-in-law, who's my neighbor, where both in-laws live next door to us. And every day we'd go out, we'd lay down some cobblestones, and then the next day we'd go out, look at it, and probably change the position of at least two or three. And either they were sitting too high or sitting too low, or water wasn't flowing away from the foundations of the house, all that kind of stuff. So yeah, I've got it really good at laying down stones so that water goes away from my house.
I'm curious. You said you're in the Netherlands, right?
Denmark, but yeah,
Denmark.
Danish. We're close.
Excuse me. You're in Denmark, and are the hot? I mean, I know that you said it's going to peak around April 20th when your child is due. How are the hospitals doing in Denmark? Is it like here in New York where they're sort of overrun and they're trying to figure out exactly where they're going to put new patients?
We have we're only 6 million people in our country. We have a respirator ventilator cap at about 1,000 and something. And right now we have, I think, 138 in need of one of those. Our country shut down fairly quickly, and we have a brilliant public health system. And what the government and the health system has basically done is that every private hospital and clinic has been turned into a public hospital or clinic for the time being. And all operations that are not life-threatening or corona are being postponed until further in the year. And you can say that when you have a highly centralized country that is the size of Denmark, these things are possible. So we're doing good. We're on like the green slope. We're not looking at a hospital system being overwhelmed or flooded or like, yeah.
You're a man after my socialist heart.
I mean, Denmark is probably one of the most socialist countries in the world. If you look at the tax bracket and the amount the government does to make sure everybody is good. And it's also one of the reasons why there's not a forced curfew, because we want to keep like our socialist democratic ideals. People are being asked to do what the government would like them to do in this crisis, and it seems like it's working very well. Um,
That's great. That's good to hear. Thank you for answering that question for me. And honestly, I'll say it at the end of the interview as well. But congratulations on the upcoming birth of your second child, and I hope everything goes as accordingly as it can possibly go.
it's a weird situation, and like half of the maternity wards have been converted into corona wards, so it puts a
Mm.
different type of pressure on the system. But I would say that the maternity wards are going to need a little more space in like 9 months, when like the generation corona is born.
The new baby boom.
Oh yeah, that'll be the new boomers.
Let's talk about Scars. Your song Scars.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful song. Where did this? I mean, obviously you're married. You're on to your second child. So this feels to me like a song about the end of a relationship, but maybe it's about something broader than that, and all different kinds of scars.
No, Scars is an interesting song because I've been very busy building a family, building a career, writing songs, touring, promoting. And Scars is actually the first outside song that I'm releasing. I've changed some of the lyrics. I've written a new bridge with Alday, one of the writers on the song. And one of the reasons why I'm releasing Scars as the first song from an outside songwriting team is that it just fit. I heard it and I felt something. And to me, it's not about a relationship. To me, it's about the physical and emotional scars that you gain throughout a life. The scars
Mm.
that shape you as a person and the ones that shape your personality too. And there was a journalist a couple of weeks ago that asked me about what if you could erase, like, because in the second verse I talk about like if I could wash them all away, like if you erase all your scars and all the pain you felt with those scars, you're going to lose all the wisdom you gained by them too. And I feel that's a really beautiful sentiment in a day and age when people try to look perfect instead of exposing their flaws. Uh, it's like the flaws that you dare to show to the world kind of determines your character in some sense. Um, and I wouldn't want to out on any of my scars. They are full and plenty. From seeing police brutality in the neighborhood I grew up in, to my grandfather and my father dying, to one of my best friends taking his own life. Um, there are so many different ways of feeling and expressing pain.
Mm.
And it's a conversation that we don't have enough between people, friends, families.
And I don't think we ever have the conversation about how to take pain with you. It's expected that pain goes away or pain fades away, but
Mm.
it's always been my experience that the severity of it fades, but it doesn't really leave you completely, and there's a power to that.
And the severity also changes and comes back. Like when
Yeah.
when we were pregnant, or when my fiance, we're not married yet because again time, and pregnant with my first daughter, like I was so sad my dad wasn't there to experience it, and then she got pregnant again and I was really happy, and then suddenly it came back. Oh, I'm just so sad my dad isn't here to see this. Like it was like complete deja vu. And I wasn't expecting to feel it as intensely as I did. um so it's also that, like, we're waving on these scars and these pains that we're feeling. It's yeah, it's being like 30. It's strange that things that hurt years ago, like, you keep thinking that one day, like, you're going to grow up for real, and suddenly you realize maybe not ever. And that's a pretty cool epiphany. Like,
Yeah.
we're just big kids who've lived longer.
Yeah, there's this. I had a conversation with someone a few months ago that was about the mistakes that you make as a person in your early 20s that are like inherently who you are and how you deal with the world. And you expect them to go away, but they kind of creep back up. And the only thing that is worse about them is that there's more ammo that you've consistently done this thing. Whereas when you were 20, it's like a new thing that you're realizing you're doing and you can get over. But when you're 30, you're like, oh, I guess this is just a thing that is going to be a pattern.
Yeah, I mean, we have this sentence at home, the missus and I, where it's like, try not to bleed on people who didn't cut you.
Mm-hmm.
because you're so hurt and battered and bruised from your teenage years and your 20s. And instead of realizing that everybody feels that way, you consider your pain to be unique. You think
Mm.
that you're the only one out there who feels a little misunderstood and feel a little wrong. And you feel like your mom and dad weren't nice enough in this situation or whatever it was. And then suddenly you grow older, and like I'd lost my dad at 23, which in ways was a blessing, because I know now at the age of 31 that a girl losing her cat at the age of 6 felt the same pain as I felt at 23 when my father died.
Mm.
And that I'm carrying that with you into your adult life, or like big child life, or whatever we call it. Um, you're very well aware that nobody necessarily knows your situation. You don't even know yourself well enough to expect other people to know you, so you don't have to be disappointed by anybody, and you don't have to necessarily bleed on people who didn't cut you. You can even
Mm.
stop bleeding on the people who did cut you, because you
Mm.
realize that it's something in them. It has nothing to do with you.
Do you feel like Scars has a particular resonance right now in this moment?
Yeah. I was being advised by different people on my team across the world to wait with the release of Scars. We
Hmm.
didn't want to use the original music video we'd shot, and there was a bunch of interviews and TV moments that we couldn't do because of the quarantines and the country shutting down. And I was like, no, this song talks about this moment. Like, it's been planned for 6 to 8 months when we were releasing this song, but it fit
Hmm.
like like an 8 ball in a pocket.
Well, it fits in the sense. I mean, from in my perspective, it fits in the sense that we are developing Scars right now, and we will hopefully learn from them in the future. In the future, hopefully, we will have wisdom to be able to look back on this moment.
Yeah, I mean, we keep talking about how we can't cut CO2 levels and then and greenhouse emissions. Then you realize, oh, if like half of the population just worked from home, we're cutting emissions automatically. Like,
Right. It's like 20% right now of CO2 emissions have been cut basically because of this.
and like literally, we're still like a lot of people are still working. A lot of people are still receiving paychecks. Like a lot of wheels are still turning.
Yeah.
So the question is, how can we learn something to put into our environment, like our in our cities, and stay at home a little more, work a little differently, avoid rush hours forever.
Yeah. And what do we do with it? Just for mental well-being too.
Oh yeah, that's for mental health
For mental
reasons.
health purposes, avoid
Oh
rush hour.
yeah, definitely.
Yeah. You said that Scars was your first song with an outside writing team. How did that happen?
There was some time during 2019 where I don't know if it's like had enough was like the right. I was like, okay, I'm really good at singing. I'm also really good at writing songs, but I don't have the time to tour, write songs, promote songs, be a really good dad, be a proper son and like fiance and brother and uncle. It's like there was just too many hats. I was switching hats all the time, and I'm still writing my own songs. Don't get me wrong. I still get a song
Mm-hmm.
from my side and I change it to make it work with the way I would like to sound. Um, but I'm also at a level now where I'm being sent really, really good songs. Where like 4 years ago, I wouldn't be able to get these like this level of songs sent. So I had to, if I was sent the song 4 or 5 years ago, I would have to change more than I'm doing now. Does that make sense?
Mm. Yeah, that makes perfect sense.
A
Is
song
there
like
when what
perfect. Sorry, what are you saying, Ricky?
Oh, that's okay. What was it like? Was there a transition for you? Did you have to wrap your head around the idea of performing or working with somebody else's song since you started as the primary songwriter for yourself?
Well, what I did was I actually had a conversation with myself, not in a schizophrenic kind of way, but more that I started singing professionally when I was 8 years old. I'm a classically
Hmm.
trained soprano soloist from the Copenhagen's Voice Choir. So when I was 12, I sang at the Queen's funeral. When I was 13, I toured the eastern seaboard of the United States with the choir. Um, I'd sung in like so many concerts before I even started writing my own songs. I'd sung Bach, Mozart, Handel, Tchaikovsky, Stravinsky, all of it. And so I was like, hey, why don't I go back to basics and interpret songs and deliver other people's material in the way I can do my own too? It's like I'm still writing tons of songs. I think I wrote 30 last year, and I'm happy about like 20 of them. So it's like I'm still going to release a lot more songs. I just love the fact that there's this other batch of songs that other people have written that fit and work. But yeah, there was a transition. I cut a lot of songs from other people, recorded them, produced some of them, rewrote some of them, re-recorded them again. And during that process, I got comfortable, like knowing that I'm still delivering a perfect product.
Scars is out now. What's coming up next for you? I know that you're doing lots of interviews and you're doing some Instagram live performances, correct or right?
Yes, I'm trying to keep like do as much work, if you could say, until because suddenly a baby's gonna pop out, and I'm gonna be locked down in a different way than we are now. Just being a little family, getting to know our new little baby, making sure our 3.5-year-old is comfortable, becoming a big sister and doesn't feel like left
Mm.
out of it or something. Um, and then the next thing is gonna be a lot of single releases and some album releases. Like I've written so many songs. I have 24 right now that I deem album worthy. So
Wow.
that's two albums, and I just want to release more music. I want to be able to share more of the stuff that I'm doing.
Yeah. Well, Lucas, congratulations on Scars and on the upcoming second baby.
Thank you.
I wish you nothing but the best when it comes to April 20th or around that time. And stay healthy, stay safe. Thank you so much for talking to me.
Thank you for the time, Ricky. Hopefully, I'll see you again, maybe in person one day. Who knows?
I hope so too. Take care.
Thank you very much. Take care.